Hey everyone, welcome to Punkcast. My name is William Maxwell. I'm a student of Web3 and the owner of Punk9527. Cryptopunks are 10,000 uniquely generated characters stored permanently on the Ethereum blockchain. No punk is the same. This is a show dedicated to celebrating the punks behind the punk. My hope for this podcast is that we capture the essence of the punk culture, elevate the brand and the individual behind the punk. One last thing. Projects discussed on the show is not financial advice. Crypto and NFTs are a volatile and risky asset class. Please always do your own research. Other than that, let's go. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Punkcast. Today we've got Punk4906 with 3 attributes: horn rim glasses, do-rag, and handlebar mustache. In real life, he's an AI researcher and a serial entrepreneur and founder of GM420 Labs, and a couple of PFP projects that some of you may well know, one called Animetas and also an upcoming project called the Yearbook Club. Please welcome Cyberh49 to the show. Cyber, finally, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, man. Nice to finally connect and have a chat. We've been trying to do this for quite some time. So how's things?
So things are pretty much okay. There are a few ups and downs in terms of shit coins. That's what we've been talking about for quite a while these last few weeks, right? But yeah.
Man, shitcoin season it is. Are you still holding on to Billy?
No.
Okay.
I sold for a bit of a loss. I mean, I'm telling myself, okay, next time around, I'll learn from my mistakes. But I always do the same things. I become greedier and, don't sell on time. So,
Mate, don't feel so bad. I think we're all in the same boat. Well, especially me. I've just doubled down on some extra losers at the moment. So, but man, it's super excited to have you on the show. I think there's a lot for us to sort of unpack because I do remember the Animetas project from a while back in the bull season, and that was a huge gas war from memory as well. So I'd love to sort of unpack that with you. But maybe perhaps we can just start off with something really simple. You know, what's behind, I guess, the handle Cyberh49?
so many people ask that. And I've been carrying it with me since I was, 13 years old or something like that. I thought it was really cool to be called Cyber Hunter. That's like what the H is for. And I don't know, like after a while, it seemed very aggressive to me to use that nickname, but I like you know, I like the cyber, so I left it with Cyber H. And then I think it was when I was 15, Gmail started and I got an invite and I tried Cyber H and he told me that it's already taken. So it suggested Cyber H49 and the rest is history.
Nice. Good handle there. And, tell us a little bit about yourself too, like where you sort of based and where you grew up, and ultimately, how did you find your way into the world of Web3?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Israel, the center of Israel, Tel Aviv, and I'm based here at the moment as well. I'm 35 years old, almost going on 36 in a few months, and I've always been in tech. I don't know, like since my teen years, and like then had my bachelor's degree in electrical engineering, and then continued to a master's degree, and then completed my PhD in electrical engineering, focusing on what I loved the most at that time and still machine learning and computer vision, which to me, I don't know, like everyone is talking about it like now because it's very hyped with ChatGPT and DALI and stable diffusion and all that. But I started to find it super interesting. I don't know, like circa 2015 maybe. I took a class in image processing a bit before like everyone started with machine learning and like deep learning and neural networks and all that. And I really fell in love with how you can manipulate images and photos and whatever with code. It was a total game changer for me because up until then, I like practiced code and did a lot of things in the tech industry, but something about being able to see, like literally see the result of what you worked on as a photo or an image or whatever. As someone who, I don't know, like I'm not a great painter, I'm not like a top-notch artist or whatever. It gave me new tools to make art with code, which was amazing for me. And it gave me a lot of ideas. Although I'm pseudo anonymous, I have quite a bag of published papers in very well known scientific magazines. So it gave me a lot of ideas for papers in the field of optics and machine vision and all that. And like it made my professional life take a turn. So that's like a bit about me in terms of my career and all that. And NFTs came after because of those things that I loved.
So just maybe going back a little bit around a little bit deep into your background. So when you studied engineering, machine learning, was that were you sort of more of an academic or were you working out in the private space?
So I always had to did both always like at the same time. I pretty like practical person, so I always wanted to know that I do practical stuff, applied stuff, if you may, and I kind of combined between academic research, which was more for like the soul, and more for like thinking about crazy ideas and all that, and practical stuff, like that's really cool and can become a product. And yeah.
Yeah. So when was this? Like how long ago was this were you sort of in AI machine learning type studies?
So I think I trained my first neural network in 2017, something like that. And like it was a simple classifier network that I thought about in the field of optics. And that's like when I I combined a lot of machine learning stuff into image processing and all that in my work.
So you're more on the image side of things as opposed to I mean, I'm just really just trying to wrap my head around AI now. I think just, probably a little bit of a late adopter with ChatGPT and Midjourney, but it's super crazy. I think, people were talking about it before then, but until it was actually in my hands, then I could actually realize the power that it potentially could have. Because prior to that, it was pretty abstract. But like, I mean, for you, like, of all the things you could have done, what was it about, machine learning and neural networks and this type of world that fascinated you the most? Like, why did you choose this path of all things?
So I mean, it literally looked like magic to me, right? I mean, it was crazy to see what those networks can do, like all the different types of tasks. If it were classification and segmentation and image editing and video editing, which I've done a lot, and it's like trying to think about tasks. I like to call it. I like to say this thing about machine learning. If you can define a, a world which is open enough to be interesting, but close enough or small enough to be defined well and can in a way that can be solved by a neural network, then you really made some progress or a lot of progress, replacing like human labor, human work, whatever.
Yeah. No, it's super fascinating. Like for you, like I mean, in terms of use cases, like what do you think would be the most powerful use case that you could sort of see that that this has potential for?
So I think that in the previous decade, a lot of what people were talking about was okay. So like we have a huge flood of information. I don't know, like people who were talking about fake news and like a lot of information in general that you have so much. It's becoming like harder and harder to curate and like to get like the important stuff out of that, and you have to do a lot of manual work, not finding the information but like really getting the stuff you need. And I think that's the major leap of what we see today in machine learning, because like if you can really search or get like the gist of the things you want from, I don't know, like books or papers or articles or whatever, then like you have to do a lot less to achieve a lot more.
Yeah. Totally, man. Like I mean, I'm just starting to use it a little bit more practically now. Like for example, these podcasts that I'm doing, just getting, written summaries of the podcast, titles, it just whips it up in seconds. And some of the things that I've been seeing people do with it, it's just like, organizing events, being able to go and book stuff, being able to pay for potentially being able to pay for stuff with bots. This stuff's crazy. So look, I'm still amateur hour at AI, but super fascinated about it. But I think we could sort of talk all day on this, but okay. So then you did sort of studies deep into AI research, focusing on, I guess, the imaging side. Talk to us a little bit about your first entry into crypto. Like, what year was that, and how did you find out about crypto?
Yes, so I remember that like around 2017, something like that, my friend told me about Ethereum. He told me, man, it's like this, I don't know, like this new way to create a decentralized and like trustless economy. Like think about like starting a poker tournament, and like you don't have to have like the central casino or whatnot. And that's when something clicked for me in terms of decentralization. And back then, so I bought a bit of ETH and like didn't really get into that world until I found out about NFTs a few years later, like when COVID came or something like that. And that was like you know life changing for me, because as you can see, like I don't know, crypto, it's really cool in terms of like the concept of the permissionless, no censorship, decentralized things you can like do with it. But NFTs, for me at least, are on another level because I come from a family of collectors. My father, he has like one of the biggest phone cards collections in the world, and he's like one of the top collectors of Starbucks gift cards. Like those when you go into a Starbucks and you can take them for free. Yeah, so like there are a lot of limited editions, and like things you can only find, I don't know, like in Malaysia or Hong Kong or whatever. I don't know. And he's like really really into that stuff. Like he can sit for hours and like organize his collection aesthetically and all that. And for me, like I helped him a lot in getting like new cards and all that. And like it's like every card is a story. Like once I've been to Morocco, and there are like only a few Starbucks branches there. And I went to one in Marrakesh, and like I really tried to explain to them what's a Starbucks gift card. And after like 30 minutes of me trying to explain what it is, then one of the employees there said, "Oh, I think I have something in the back." And I got like a few super rare Starbucks gift cards from Morocco. So that was like a super cool experience. And like that's like I collected Pokemon when I was a kid, and like I have a Holo Charizard in my collection, and like it's always been about collecting stuff in my family. And when I found out about NFTs, I was like, oh my god, I'm a minimalist. I don't like physical stuff, like hoarding stuff and finding room for it and all that. And if I could collect stuff digitally, that would be amazing for me. And then, like, I started with buying a bit of art and like got into Top Shot and stuff like that. And when I got into Top Shot, I started, like going over, I don't know, like CryptoSlam.io and stuff like that. And I saw CryptoPunks for the first time, and I'm like, oh my god, who would pay for that? Like, who would pay so much for that? And like I saw like those big alien sales back then. I don't know, like I can't remember what the prices were back then, but it was. I mean, I didn't get it right, and then I opened my own Twitter account, and it was like that's like the first social I ever had. So
So when was this Cyber? Like when did you open your Twitter?
like in the end of 2020, when I like it was COVID, and I had a lot of spare time because it was a lockdown and like all that. And basically then I started like trying to figure out or understand what punks are, because like that was something like everyone told me like punks are the OGs of the space and all that. And I started like just DMing people with punks PFPs on Twitter. And back then, like there were no scammers or whatever. Like if you had a punk PFP, it means you owned the punk, right? And I started like talking to, I don't know, like Tony Herrera and G Money and Silly Tuna, and like so many cool people. And I started understanding like what it was that was so amazing about punks in terms of like the project and the community and all that. And then I set it for me as a goal for the like next few years back then to become a leading figure in the NFT space and to understand more about it, because I really thought, I really believed, and I still do, that that's the next revolution, blockchain, and like the assets that you can build upon it. And like here I am after a few successful drops and making a lot of friends in the space, and like working on a lot of cool technologies and all that.
Yeah, man. That it's I'm just equally as excited as you as well. But just to go back and unpack a little bit of that. So you basically started in late 2020 going down rabbit holes. I think you mentioned NBA Top Shots. Do you remember what your first NFT was?
So yes, I bought, I can't remember even in what wallet of mine it is, but I bought an NFT from a South African female artist that I really liked. And it was like this painting of a nude woman in like kind of a bluish background. And I thought, wow, I mean, I don't really care if like I will sell it or if it goes up in price or whatever. But I do like the concept of like owning an asset. It really changed like how I perceive digital ownership. And then like when I started, like getting, although it's on Flow, and like I believe it should have been on Ether, but I started getting into Top Shot, and and like everyone has that moment when you tell them about NFTs and they say, okay, so why won't I just right click and save it? But I don't know, like once you give them an NFT or help them like own one or open a MetaMask wallet or whatever, then everyone or almost everyone starts understanding what it means to own something. Like you have it and no one else, and it's I don't know. It's this feeling is magical. Like the deep understanding of ownership that like in physical stuff it's easy, but once you get it in digital stuff, then I don't know, it changes completely how you see digital ownership or ownership in general.
Totally. Completely get that feeling as well. It's just, and I think for me as well, I think similar to you, I think I've come from a background that sort of, well, yeah, I used to collect basketball cards. And so I think similar to you, how you understood collectability of, Starbucks cards and all those other collectibles, translating that through was relatively an easier step. And I think it becomes a little bit more magical once you sort of understand the nuances of blockchain empowering it in the back end. So completely with you there. And so like your first NFT, that was in 2020, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you started going into the Punk Discord, and I think you mentioned a few names. You started connecting with their G Money, Tony Herrera, and the like. At what point did you know, buy your first Punk?
Okay, so that's a cool story, I think. Like when I started talking to many punks, I I told them like it's not if ever have a punk, it's when, right? I mean, I was so eager to be part of this group that I don't know, like I really wanted to work hard and do cool stuff in its space until I can afford a punk. And like I started grinding and doing a lot of stuff. So I started from doing a bit of AI art. There's a collection on the OpenSea contract because I wasn't aware of standards back then, like the ERC 721 or whatnot. So there is a collection called Punkassos, which is like a punk's AI version. I don't know, like influenced by Picasso or whatever. And like if you check out the wallets that own them today, so you'd see Coldy and G Money and Tony and Blau and whatever, like a lot of different ones. Some have bought them, some I gifted them. And Claire Silver has one, Beauty in the Punk, a lot of OG punks. And
What so what do I type in? Punkasso. How do you spell it?
so it's
Punka.
Punkassos.
So, okay, I'm not sure if I'm on the one. There's a few here. Punkassos. Okay, I got it. I remember these actually. I think I actually might even have one.
Yeah,
Are these yours?
yeah,
No way. Okay, cool. Yeah, so basically, I don't know, how would you describe them? CryptoPunks with
yeah. So they are. I took like this old algorithm for like style transferring that I worked on a bit before, and I tried it with combining like a punk image and just an abstract painting or whatever, and like started trial and erroring, like what are the results that I get, and some of them are super cool. Like I think I especially love the Coldy one, and I maybe the Kaylee Nelson one. There are some that I really enjoy looking at even today, and like that's also something that allowed me to like introduce myself to a lot of punks and start talking to them and all that. So that was like more about that and more about like dipping my toes in the NFT ocean. And like from that point on, then I started thinking about doing like doing bigger things in terms of like generative art and technology, and like working with world class, top notch artists. And that's basically when I reached out to the artists that I worked with the most since then. Gustavo Wieselner, or Pixel Gustavo, the one I made Animetas with, and the one I'm working on the Yearbook Club with. And for me, it was like a match made in heaven, because Gustavo is considered by many the best pixel artist in the world. He worked with like so many huge agencies and companies and celebrities and all that, and like everyone loves what he's doing. And I'm personally a fan, like before I started working with him. But let's keep this story for later. I'll talk a bit about how and when I got my first punk. Uh,
Yeah.
because like I took a left turn somewhere.
No. This is super fascinating stuff, man. I think it's good contextually, right? So it sounds like you were hanging out in the punk Discord. You didn't have a punk. You're experimenting with Punkassos, and you're distributing them to some pretty big name punks, right?
Yeah.
To really kick that off, and then so what happened from there?
Yes. So basically, I started thinking about a lot of ways to make more art and make interesting stuff and all that. So I worked with my brother on doing making punk avatars and Bored Apes avatars for Cryptovoxels, which I don't know if anyone still uses, but back then, like a lot of punks had land on it. And like I don't know, I started a shop with Tony Herrera, and like I don't know how much he believed in that idea, but after a few weeks where we started pitching kind of 3D punks as avatars in Cryptovoxels, we had these buying those avatars, and we had a lot of different punks buying them. And like I came back to Tony and I told him, okay, so we've made like I don't know, like 12 ETH from selling punk avatars on Cryptovoxels. What do you think? And he's like, what? Wow, that's more than I believed would that we'll get. And I told him, yeah, I mean, I want to keep grinding because I want to get a punk. And back then, I think they cost like I don't know, 20 something ETH. Tony told me, and Tony, like, is the best, right? So he told me, okay, see what we'll do. I'll buy a punk. That's the one I go with now. I have two, but this is like my first 4906. And I'll buy this one and keep it for you until you have the ETH to pay me for it, and then you'll take it.
It's a really interesting story about Tony Herrera, because it sounds like Tony has helped a lot of punks get their punk.
Yeah.
So can you just talk to me about that a little bit, what the details were behind that, and how you were thinking about, attribute selection, and how you landed on 4906?
Yeah, so it was on the floor back then, and I don't know why, but I both of my punks have handlebar mustache, and I don't know why, but I like it. Like I really like the handlebars. Like sometimes I don't know, it just sticks. I mean, I didn't really even think about it until I realized that I got two with the same trait. But like it really stuck out to me. I don't know, like I really wanted that one. It looked like a very geeky gangster, like a do-rag and the handlebars and the glasses. And maybe it's like a bit of who I am, like a very geeky, not really a gangster, right? But
A giga gangster.
yeah, I mean, as you said, like Tony is really the best. I mean, he really believes in punks and crypto and all that, and he's always looking for opportunities, and it's not necessarily like to make money or whatever. The opportunities for Tony are first and foremost to know more people that he can, like talk and think with. And like at first, like, so Tony is based in LA and I'm in Tel Aviv, so it's like 10 hours difference in the time zones. And he told me, okay, so let's when I started talking to him, like DMing on Twitter, he told me, okay, so let's hop on a call, right? And I did. It was like, I don't know, like 10 p.m. here in Tel Aviv, and we started talking. Like 3 hours passed, and we were still like brainstorming ideas and all that. I was really like, wow, this person really cares about this industry and really wants to onboard people, obviously to the punks community, but also like to a lot of other crypto projects, like introduce, like connect between people and all that stuff. Yeah.
Tony's he's definitely the way. I mean, the way that you described him, so many other punks have described him, and even me personally, I've had him on Punkcast, and my personal dealings with him. He's such a beautiful soul, and
Totally.
does so much for punks as well. So yeah, I think those sentiments ring true as well, and it's just super fascinating. Like the same sort of people continue to sort of pop up in various sort of other punk journeys as well. Like Tony's a key one, and also Hember as well. And I'm just scrolling down on your history for 4906. So this was your punk was actually a Hember claim punk as well. Did you know that?
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of history, and stories behind each single punk, and I think it's all on change, which makes it super fascinating, right? So I think your punk has got that story tied to it too. And if you go back and listen to the Punkcast that I had with Hemba, I mean, he's got such an amazing sort of story around how he went about claiming it, and also a personal story as well. So yeah, I think it's all coming down through the change and through those hands, and now sitting in your hands, right? So you've got a bit of Hemba and Tony Herrera in your punk bloodline in some ways, which is
Yeah,
kind of cool, right?
yeah, totally.
Oh, that's cool, man. All right, so then, but it's a super cool punk too, man, and love to sort of I love the do rag, super clean, and the handlebars definitely make him sort of pop out.
Yeah.
But why don't we switch gears now and talk a little bit more about Animetas? Like, I think you were in the middle of discussing about how you found Gustavo. Why don't you talk a little bit more about that, and what was the genesis for Animetas? How did that come about?
Yeah, so basically, as I said, so Gustavo is an artist that I really admired for many years before I got into NFTs. It's a funny story because he's an Israeli artist as well, based here in Tel Aviv. And one day I was at work and I went to grab some coffee with a friend at work. And this friend had this mug that he brought from home, and it had this, like the scene in Game of Thrones where Jon Snow fights whatever White Walkers or whatnot on the ice. So he had like the pixel version of that printed on a mug, and I was like, oh my god, that's genius! Like, who made that? And he told me, yeah, it's this guy called Gustavo. He's been selling those mugs at this Tel Aviv pub Fridays, right? And I like, okay, that's pretty cool. I don't have social, so I did start like going on his Instagram page from time to time, like without a user, like seeing like if he made any new uploads or whatnot. And every piece that I saw was just amazing. I mean, I felt that he really knows how to snapshot moments of my childhood, teens, adulthood, whatever, in a very nostalgic, pixelated way. Like, that's really, it's hard to grasp, but it's really art that makes you feel something. Although, like, it's a very, like, simple pixel art or whatever, but is just a maestro in what he does.
Yeah, so man, like I'm looking at his work on Dribble and Behance, and I'm with you, man. Like I think, and it's a really sweet spot for our sort of crypto degen culture because it just hits that sort of sweet spot, right? So he's got stuff around Iron Man, Rambo, Zorro, Back to the Future, Batman, Beetlejuice, Breaking Bad. There's all these images that just evoke that nostalgia, man. So I'm with you on the look and feel of what you're describing. Sorry to cut you off, but yeah, I just want to chime in there.
Yeah, I mean, I would have done the same thing because really, it leaves you speechless. Is art, I feel at least, right? And basically, once I felt that I want to really get into making cool stuff with NFTs, I thought, what artists do I really admire? And it was the first name that came up. And I just, like DM'd him on Twitter. And I thought, well, it's a long shot, but I mean, like, what could go wrong, right? And he replied, and like we started talking, and we started thinking about, oh, maybe we can do that, maybe we can do that, etc. And at first I told him, okay, let's make a deal. I'll try to like get your name more known in the NFT space, and like you'll sell NFTs and whatever, and I'll get one free NFT from you, like something I want you to make as a commission for me for free. And he said, okay, that sounds cool. And we started talking, like he sold a few NFTs back then. You can search for Days with Dad on OpenSea, or in general, like it's like one of his best. And you actually you can see it on his Twitter. I think it's like the pinned tweet or something like that. And yeah, totally. And you're like, the more I got to know Gustavo personally, and the more I got into like his work process and how he makes art and all that, I figured that that's like exactly what I find moving in a lot of stuff, because like there is always this feeling of nostalgia, like for anyone who grew up in the 80s and 90s, right? For those old video games and arcade games, and like the simple life, let's say, of the that era, and all the TV shows, and like all the stuff that we loved when we were kids and teens and whatever. Like you have this guy who knows how to really capture those nostalgic moments in a very cool way. And we started thinking, okay, so let's do something bigger together. Okay, so we both like anime, we both like pixel art, we both like retro futuristic universes, like, I don't know, Blade Runner or The Fifth Element, or like all that, all those movies, Demolition Man, where I still don't get how you wipe your ass with the seashells, but once we thought about that, it was, I don't know, like around April 2021. He sent me this kind of sketch of what an Animeta would look like. And I thought, well, man, maybe we can make like this kind of world where it's super far in the future, and people like can't live on Earth any longer because it's polluted or whatever. And they found a way to mint their brains like onto the Ethereum blockchain and live virtually like inside the blockchain. The projection of that would be Animetas. Like that's the story behind the collection, and the world. Like because the Ethereum blockchain is pretty like classic, old, a bit slow, etc. Then it would be like a retro futuristic world, like the worlds that we like. Like hover cars that are old. Like all those I don't know, like old station wagons or whatever. we started a Twitter account and we started tweeting, and people just loved that feeling of nostalgia. And like we've shown more and more sneak peeks of like aliens in the collection and ninjas and cowboys and all that, like in the style of those retrofuturistic universes. And finally, we released the collection on July 31st, 2021.
Peak of the bull market.
Yeah, and it was like, I think that except the drop of Other Side, I think it was like the biggest and most expensive gas war like ever in the blockchain. I think
Yeah,
it
I
was
remember
super
that
crazy.
actually. Yeah, it was crazy. And there was a bit of FUD that came out because people lost money on that too, right? Because this is before pre-mint came out, right? So everybody
Right.
was just loading up their ETH and jacking up the
Yeah.
gas so they can get the mints. And I think you had the Animonkeys
Right.
before dropping
Right.
Animetas as well. Like what was the whole mechanism there? Like what was the thinking behind that?
Basically, we wanted to. So we're building like a universe for all those nerds or geeks or whatever like us that miss those 80s and 90s nostalgic moments. So like a lot of them probably watch Stranger Things in the past few years or whatever. And Animonkeys were a smaller drop for our like early adopters, to make sure that even though that they might not mint Animetas, they would still be able like to mint something from that universe. And Animonkeys are planned to be some like a part of the next um, evolution of the universe, and they are supposed to be transformed into any monsters, which are so like I can you can see some of the sneak peeks for any monsters in the Animeta's Twitter, but basically we wanted to make a world which is a bit Pokemon-esque, because like it's something super new. Like let's say trading cards on the blockchain that are not necessarily one of ones, that you really can like what I felt that is missing on the blockchain on many levels is like completing sets, trading, being able to use the same asset in different ecosystems. Like I don't know, like think about Pokemon. So you have Pokemon Go and you have the Game Boy games and you have the trading cards, but there is no like intersection between them. You have to collect the Pokemon on each platform separately. And here you might be able to like take an asset that is yours and use it in many different ecosystems. And Animonsters, like they have a few generations, and the Animonkeys are going to create the legendary generation, which is a special one that is kind of like you burn combos of the monkeys to get one of one monsters that will be probably like super rare. Yeah.
That's pretty fun. I'll put the link in the show notes as well. And I'm just looking at the metaverse section where you've got the Animonsters there. The actual animals there look pretty cute and cool. So I'll definitely link that one through. But I think just to close Animetas off, like where do you want to take it next? So you got Animonsters, and where do you want to take that next?
Basically, what I'm thinking is that I recently like I don't know, like probably 6 months ago, I onboarded a new CEO to the Animetas company, Julian Castro, or also known as Aeolius. He's like this pro gamer, one of the best players of the world in Call of Duty. His own two companies, both of them, like he sold for to bigger companies. The latter was called 1%, and it was like historically the fastest growing gaming brand in history of like gaming brands. And like he got to, I don't know, like 1 million YouTube subscribers in less than a month. I was super impressed by that. And I told him, Julian, like, I want you to take like what you've done for gaming and get like the same people, because I know that there's a huge intersection between, you know, like gamers and people who love like trading card games and all that. And I want you to get them to know about our it's not a collection, it's a universe, you know, like I feel that the blockchain and NFTs are only a platform to something bigger here, which is really like the storytelling of the universe. And I don't mean like storytelling in the sense that a lot of people use in our space, right? I mean, like for, I don't know, like selling more NFTs, but really creating something that people love and, you know, like could become a franchise, you know, like I don't know, like Pokemon or like Star Wars or like anything else that I loved as a kid, because I think that it's like this platform, the blockchain and NFTs specifically, allows people to experience a franchise or a story or a universe differently than they could have done with any other asset that they own. Because, like, think about it. Like, I remember when I went to watch the first Pokemon movie, I got this Ancient Mew card that was like back in 2000, and I still have like, I don't know, like 6 copies of them, all mint, and you know, like I got them for free. Now they cost, I don't know, like $50 or something like that. Not that I care because I won't sell them, but like I wonder if we had NFTs back then, if I came with, I don't know, like my complete base set one of Pokemon, and you know, like had a proof that I have this set, then maybe I could have, you know, like got a, I don't know, like a new card or a more special card once I got into the movie, or you know, like yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's cool. So it sounds like pretty exciting stuff you got planned there. I think a bit more gamification around the collectability side of Animetas. And then what about Yearbook Club? What's the sort of plan with the Yearbook Club? Like, what is it, and what's sort of next for Yearbook Club?
Yes, so with Yearbook Club, we thought about like Gustavo had this collection made, I don't know, like a long time ago before Animetas, even when we started thinking about different ideas. And we felt at that time that we wanted to release Animetas before that. Yearbook Club is more like Animetas takes more of a dark type of universe direction, and we wanted to also, as part of our brand, which is not only Animetas but like a lot of stuff under the franchise of Gustavo and Cyberh49, we wanted to make something more wholesome and something that a lot of people can, you know, like see themselves in, because everyone basically went to a high school and everyone watched those high school sitcoms or TV series from the US in the 90s, and you know, like, and it feel like we went for things that feel very familiar and very cool and stuff that you can, you know, like really develop, because you know, like school ads is it's politics and fun stuff and bullies and you know, like whatnot, and everyone knows like all the dynamics of school, and you know, like we want something that you can really develop in many directions.
Yeah, no, the artwork looks pretty cool, man, and I can sort of see the retro, nostalgic high school sort of feel and vibe to it as well. And so, when does this drop? Is it coming soon?
It's coming on May 21st, so like in 5 days. Yeah, 5 days. Yeah, and you know, like although we're in a bear market, I mean, I don't know, like the passion and the enthusiasm I see from people, because you know, like really Gustavo has his own cult following, really, and you know, like we just completed our first fan art competition or challenge. People, you know, like made action figures of the Yearbook Club sneak peeks, and a lot of cool fan art that like I didn't dream that people would go so far for a brand that just like emerged. So yeah.
No, it's cool. Definitely keep an eye out for it. And yeah, so I think, and what's the mint price and supply? Have you sort of figured that out all out yet?
Yeah, the supply will be 8,500 and the min price is going to be 0.037 ETH.
Is it public or will it go through? I think you've got a pre-mint here for
Yeah, yeah.
whitelist, is it?
So there's a whitelist, and like we hope it won't get to a public sale. But if it does, then we'll have hopefully a wider community.
Great. Hopefully, some of the punks can sort of pick some of this stuff up. But looking forward to it, man. It looks good.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
And mate, so getting back onto, I guess, some of the punk questions, then we'll try and try and cruise through some of these. But if money wasn't an issue, what would be your dream punk?
I'd probably go for the cowboy 3D glasses ape.
Mm, pretty cool. Yeah, that one's actually a pretty dope combo for sure. And if you were to look back at your NFT career to date, do you have any wins or losses worth mentioning?
One win that is that I'm really proud of is that I bought a board ape for zero point 0.7 ETH and sold it for 50.
Nice.
A nice win. I don't have much losses because I usually don't sell, but I would like I bought a World of Women about a year ago, and it was like 14 ETH back then, and now it's like I don't know zero point 0.2. So
A- and if you were to look across the punk community, do you have a favorite punk or punks that come to mind?
yeah, of course. So as I said, like Tony is the best, and like other than him, so I love G Money, Jordan Lyle, which I started working with recently on the on chain games. Yeah, so a ton. You obviously that I started shitcoin trading with recently. You know,
Yeah, no, and I think those guys that you mentioned are really cool. I mean, Julie's absolutely lovely, a devoted member of the punk community, and Jordan Lyle, he's just a beast that's just continuing to build. Right, I think he dropped that, art blocks on Arbitrum. I forgot what it's called. And if you were to describe punk culture in a few words, how would you describe that for you?
I would describe it as like people that got used to zig when others zag, right? And they're proud of it, and like they're not there for like for making a few more dollars, but for like proliferating a new tech that they believe in and making awesome relationships while they're at it. Yeah, and I think that like, from what I feel, there are outsiders with inside information. Right? That's
Nice way to put that. Beautiful way to put that. Yeah, I think the way you sort of described it, it just does sort of feel like the trying to most punks are genuinely trying to build real relationships and trying to build together, right? Which is a really cool thing to see. And just a few other questions I think before we close off quickly around what are your views on V1 punks?
like I don't have a really a strong opinion about them, and I think like that's the blockchain. They're on the blockchain. People should do what the fuck they want on the blockchain. I'm not here to judge anyone. Like I obviously think that the provenance and history of our punks are is the important thing, and like the one that will go in history as the important asset. But like people can do whatever they want. I mean,
Yeah, of course. And how did you feel about the Yuga acquisition of the Punks IP last year?
I do like punks. Like I preferred punk stayed with Larva Labs, but I think it's a huge win for Larva Labs, like the sale to Yuga, and I hope that Yuga just doesn't touch punks. Maybe put them in museums or like make more people know about them. That's cool. But like get like really far from trying to make them like corporate goods.
Yeah. I think I think you're right. I think as soon as you try and commercialize something, it just feels off. It feels like you're selling out, and it's sort of going against the grain of what punks really are for, right? Really about
Yeah,
independent thinkers, freedom.
yeah,
This
and
new
business
decentralized
wise,
economy. Mm.
I think that Yuga made a huge mistake. I mean, they can't monetize punks, and
Yeah, if for the Yuga guys listening. No, this has been cool. And one last question before we chop out, but if you could pass on a message to the next owner of Punk 4906, what would you like to say to them?
kids, I love you. That I'm probably dead right now. That's my punk.
That's kind of morbid, but sweet, bittersweet. A nice way to sort of in the show. But Cyber, this has been super fun listening to your story and your successful run into Animetas, the NFT space, and obviously into CryptoPunks. And obviously, you're a well-respected member of the punks community as well. So thank you so much for your time joining us. And I'm really looking forward to the Yearbook Club dropping in the next week or so. But I guess just to sort of close off, any final closing comments on your side, and how can sort of people find you?
People can find me, like on the Animetas Discord, the Punks Discord, the Yearbook Club Discord, whatever. Also on my Twitter, Cyberh49.eth, and obviously for Punks, so in the Punks Telegram. And I had a lot of fun, so thanks for having me. Super cool podcast.
Awesome. Thank you so much again, mate. So, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. And thank you so much for listening. And we'll be back next week with another amazing punk. Bye for now.